Welcome to this edition of Ask the Church, our video series where we seek to answer your questions about church worship, practice, or theology in under 5 minutes. Today's question is actually about Advent. Can you tell me a little bit more about this season, its history, its purpose, the color purple? Advent is actually a really old Christian season. I mean, we have evidence of the church practicing Advent since at least the late 300s AD, so it's been around a long time. And the idea of Advent springs out of an impulse that I think is important for us to grapple with. And that is the idea that we need to prepare before we go into the great celebrations and feasts of the church year. This idea that preparation must be had before a feast is something that you see pop up even in sort of the secular world. I mean, there's places, and I think about like the engagement of a couple where there's a long season of preparation before a time of joy. Or you see it in childbirth, where the actual time of a mother carrying the child is a season of preparation before the joyful arrival of the child. There's something in God's economy, in the very nature of the world, that cries out to us, you need to prepare for the great moments of joy. That becomes particularly important when we think about the moment of joy being an encounter with God. This is something that you certainly see in the scriptures, as there's various people who fast before an encounter with God, like Elijah fasts on his way to Mount Sinai where he's going to encounter God, or Moses fasts before he's given the law and the vision of God on the top of Sinai. The idea that there's preparation before a meeting of God is this beautiful scriptural idea. It's worth noting that our world actually, in terms of celebration and fasting, works in kind of the opposite direction oftentimes. You know, we go into a feast and then people feel guilty about the feast, and so they fast afterwards. That's a New Year's resolution after Christmas. The church world is actually the opposite. You fast first so that you're ready for the feast. And that's even more important when the feast is about an encounter with God. The reason why you would fast or prepare before a feast is because we need to be stripped of all the things that we use in place of God. We need to let down all the things that we use to sort of satisfy our souls so that we're hungry for Him, that we're ready for Him. Preparation, which includes fasting, includes penitence, includes prayer, precedes the encounter with God because we need to be rid of all the things that are cluttering the soul before we come into the presence of God. That's the basic Christian ideal, and the reasons why Christians started practicing Advent very early on. Same reason, by the way, that we practice Lent, that you fast, prepare, be penitent, pray in preparation for the encounter with God. You strip everything away. The color purple that we use during Advent is that symbol of preparation or penitence or fasting. Interestingly, we've been using the color purple since about the 13th or the 14th centuries, but prior to that, it was actually the color black. That would be a gloomy Advent if we used black, but purple replaced black in the Western churches in the 13th and 14th century as the color of preparation, the color of fasting, the color of getting ready for a great feast. The Feast of Advent is not dark the way that Lent is. It's not overly penitent. It's more about longing and expectation, hope that we will encounter God. And so it's a time where we set aside things that would distract us from what's to come, a time when we get ready for a new encounter with God. That's the basic overview of the season of Advent. The most important thing, though, that we need to add to that is the fact that Advent has been thought of since the very beginning is not just preparation for the arrival of Christ in terms of his birth in Bethlehem. It is that. But Advent is actually the moment when we begin to remember that Christ will come again. The two Advents, Advent is the Latin word for arrival, the two Advents of Christ, his first coming and his second, are linked together. The first is a proof of the second. And so while we prepare through fasting, while we wait in this purple season, we wait for the arrival of Christ at Bethlehem, we're learning to wait for his second coming, his arrival at the end of all things. Many have noted also that there's a third coming, and that is the coming to each of our hearts. And Advent is a good moment to remember that Christ has come to the world at Bethlehem, but he's come to each of us. And he will come again. And so in this season where we actually prepare, where we wait, where we set aside certain things that are pleasures now so we can learn to wait in greater longing, it's a good moment to remember all three of these comings, that he has come to the world, that he has come to us, and that he will come again. This season, as you see the color purple, I would encourage you to let it be a reminder to you that we're preparing for an encounter with God, that we're getting ready, that we're waiting and hoping in patience for him. I hope that this answer helps. As always, thanks for watching this edition of Ask the Church. If you have questions, send them to Stephen@incarnationrichmond.org. And now go in the grace of our Lord.